Welcome to today's episode, everybody. Today, I am sharing the podcast episode where Laura Cavallo interviewed me for her Cravings Control for Fat Loss podcast. We talk about all things nutrition, strength training, obviously, but also some hormonal imbalances. We also talk about cold plunges and even organ meats and root canals. Laura asked me a lot of questions that, there are some things that I haven't really talked about before on any of the podcast episodes or interviews. So I really hope that you enjoy it. If you want to check out the episode that I did with Laura on this podcast, you can go ahead and check out podcast number 188. So episode 188. It is titled How to Deal with Cravings with Laura Cavallo. Now, before we head into this guest interview where I was the guest, I also wanted to let you know that I'm giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to one of you. And all you have to do to win this gift card is to leave a rating and review on iTunes. So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, this is where you can enter this giveaway. So all you have to do is to open the podcast app and go to my podcast. It's a purple clickable link. Click there and scroll all the way down where you see ratings and reviews. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. And I will announce the winner the last episode of October. So the very last episode that I do in October. You still have about 6 weeks or almost 7 weeks to do it, but why not do it right now so you don't forget? So this is my little ask. So go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating and review, and you can win that $50 Amazon gift card. All right, here is the show.
Welcome to another episode of Cravings Control for Fat Loss. My name is Laura Cavallo, your cravings coach, and today we're talking with Kersten Kimura, who is a personal trainer and nutrition coach whose passion it is to help women speed up their metabolism, gain muscle, and lose body fat in a hormonally healthy way. She wants to make sure that you have the right approach, not only with your macros and your workouts, but she wants to make sure that you are staying in a great, healthy shape along the way by using simple hacks that keep the metabolism as healthy as possible. In our conversation, Kersten and I talk about everything from her growing up abroad, coming to the States, and how she was surrounded by so many friends and delicious foods, and how she rebounded to the other side and gained a bunch of weight, but how that weight actually helped her balance out her hormones and eventually create a healthier relationship with food. Now, Kersten is someone who consistently strength trains, has a much healthier relationship with food. During our discussion, we talk about things as interesting as cold plunges, as well as consuming beef liver and animal organs to help with high nutrient value. We also talk about why she removed her root canals and a bunch of other super interesting and also not your run-of-the-mill type of conversation that I've had before on this podcast. So I hope that you enjoy the guest chat, and I will see you soon. Hey there, boo. I'm giving away a $50 gift card to one lucky winner. To enter the drawing, all you have to do is submit a review of this podcast. Your honest review will help me get in front of other women who may be struggling and need a realistic and sustainable approach to their cravings and fat loss goals. Here's what you have to do. If you're a Spotify listener, click the 3 dots next to the follow button and under the cover photo and click rate the show. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, go to the homepage of the podcast and scroll down past the episodes and past ratings and reviews, and you'll find a purple text saying write a review. After you write your review, take a screenshot of it and send it over to me so that I know it's you and I can put you into the drawing for the $50 gift card. I will be taking submissions all the way through end of July, and then I will be drawing that winner and announcing it on the August 3rd podcast. Your review truly means the world to me. Thank you so much for taking 2 minutes of your time. It really means so much. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Our listeners are women that struggle with cravings, hunger, overeating, maybe have a fat loss goal, weight loss goal. I do tend to speak with a lot of women that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and who are in this perimenopause, menopause state, or even in your 30s, your body's kind of getting ready for menopause, like in your late 30s, like things are still like starting to happen a little bit. And so I saw that you shared in your bio that like you had a lot of severe hormonal issues, and that's kind of like what probably led you to, well, I guess I can ask you, like, was that like your wake up call for you, or was that really like, is that when things started to change? Like, what was that process like for you in terms of like your hormones and understanding that things were imbalanced for you?
Yeah, so when I had these major hormonal issues, actually, I wasn't even near perimenopause or menopause, but it was like in my early 20s, let's say 21 to 27, 28 years old, late 20s. And it was all caused by just severe overtraining, tons of cardio. I ran marathons, but honestly, the purpose wasn't to be a good marathon runner. It was just a way to control my weight. And together with that, I also severely restricted my calories. So it started with Weight Watchers, and I really dropped my calories down and started running a ton. And with that, yeah, I created myself a ton of issues. And most noticeably, I didn't have my periods for the whole decade, which is kind of crazy for a lot of women.
Wow.
Some women will tell me that,
Wow.
oh, you're
Yeah.
so lucky. I'm like, yeah, you don't know much about health if you say that, because it's not a healthy thing. I mean,
Mhm.
your period is one of your really, signs that tells you about your health and your metabolic health. And I really screwed myself up that way. And I did get very, very skinny. So back then, that was my ideal. I just wanted to be really thin, and I was. And looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I was like really, really just like bones, basically, right? Skin and bones. And I remember every time I was always so cold also, right? Because you have no body fat, your thyroid is a
Yeah.
mess. And I remember my mom would always tell me, well, you're so cold because you got no fat on you. And I was like, Mom, what do you know? But moms know stuff. They know
They know
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah. And so this is kind of like my story with severe overtraining. And it was like to the point where I would sometimes run 3 hours in the morning without eating.
Wow.
3 hours. And I was always saying that, this is because I'm preparing for this or that marathon, which, yeah, you do need those long runs once a week, but you don't need to do them starving, and you don't need to do them with the purpose of like stepping on the scale, see how much weight you lost. So yeah, this is kind of a very, very short version of like what got me into this trouble. And then later I got out of it.
So let's kind of start from the beginning. So you grew up in Estonia, and what was your childhood like around fitness, health, nutrition? Was it talked about in your family, and what was the discourse that around it?
Yeah. So I can say that I'm really lucky that my mom never modeled to me like severe dieting or negative body talk or any of that, to be honest. And I feel like at least back then when I was little, there was not even like a space for that type of stuff for women to obsess over, because life circumstances were way harder. I mean, it was like post-Soviet country, right? I was 6 years old when the Soviet Union collapsed. So I think back then, it wasn't even like as big obsession. You had other things to worry about, right? Like how are we going to make it this month? What are we going to eat? So it was never like, oh, let's see how much the scale has dropped. And it was always a healthy relationship with food. We had a lot of the stuff was just grown. Either my grandfather or my mom or our neighbor, had cows and we got milk from him. So it was nice. Everything was homemade meals. And fast food, luckily, wasn't a thing. First of all, it was more expensive. Secondly, I was in a really, really tiny town where I grew up. We didn't even have like McDonald's or anything like that. So in that sense, totally good, normal, healthy, homemade meals, and no like negative body talk or obsession. I don't honestly remember any of that. But when it comes to fitness, I just naturally got really interested in training. I started with track and field when I was 9. And since then, it has been my real passion. So in one way or another, I've been involved in fitness, like physical fitness, and always loved, whether it is like running, lifting, basketball, volleyball. This is the stuff that I've kind of always really liked. So I would say overall, nothing crazy to share, because especially compared with a lot of people I know, a lot of women have really crazy relationship with food, and it was often coming from their moms. So I can say I'm lucky in that sense.
Lucky for sure in some ways, right? In the sense of like having a healthy upbringing or with your family, but then also the challenges of your environment and being challenged in that sense with like your survival,
Yeah.
right? And that probably tapped into your trauma response a little bit too. And that stress of like, survival and flourishing with the family and being safe. You brought up a really good point, and I think it's important to highlight it here is like you said, we didn't have time to think about that stuff, right? And I think it's a good lesson for a lot of us. Like if you are obsessing about your body or your weight or the scale or this and that, it might mean that you just need to start focusing on other things in your life, right? Other things that bring you joy, other things that fill up your cup, things that you can do on a day-to-day versus, you know, these numbers or this look or these things that make us more obsessed and more stressful. So I know Jill Coleman has said this before, like if you're obsessing about your body, just get obsessed about something else, right? Like either your self-development or like a relationship with friends or like a hobby or something. Like just do something else. So it sounds like your upbringing was you were active, you had a healthy relationship with food. And so how did you get into this sort of obsessiveness with thinness and running marathons and sort of this cycle, this rigmarole of calorie burning and body obsession?
Great question, because it's not like a normal pattern, right? Where a lot of people pick it up, right? You know, when I was little, it was like a mess already. But for me, it started, I think part of it was when I started working at a restaurant, when I started university. And so I put on quite a bit of weight. And at the same time, I had also reduced my track and field training. And I just put on weight. It was really uncomfortable. I was like, who am I? I didn't kind of recognize myself. Also working at a restaurant, I was a waitress. You know, you're sampling, you're tasting all the time. And, you know, if you worked at a restaurant, you're seeing how the restaurant meals are made. Like, there's a lot of fat in everything. So I gained a lot of weight relatively quickly. And it was just like, it wasn't the same athletic me that I had known already, like how I had been used to. And then I think also, I know that also still, it just made me insecure. Right. And I couldn't kind of see past that. I couldn't kind of see that, okay, you can take a normal approach to it. You can just start watching a little bit more what you eat and maybe move a little bit more. No, I had to go like crazy with this, like, I'm going to have to lose all of it and do it in a really extreme way. And, you know, you can also see definitely some perfectionist tendencies there, because already in school, I was the one who really had to have good grades and do everything really well. And, even things that I absolutely hated, like I didn't love like playing piano at all, but my parents and my grandparents, they wanted me to. And I was like, okay, I just do it, kind of like this people pleasing thing. And at the same time, I had friends who didn't want to go to like violin or piano class either, but they were like, I'm just going to not go then, and whatever, if that. And I was never able to do that. I was the people pleaser. I was the rule follower. I was very much different from what I'm now. To be honest, I'm much more relaxed, way more like rather like rule breaker, I would say. But back then it was like, has to be done in a certain way. And I took the same approach to my weight loss as well. And that's why I got so extreme with it. It like, from very young age, it's been always like, I have to be really good at things and do them perfectly. And definitely some kind of like insecurity played a role in there as well.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. Yeah. I've worked in restaurants before. I've bartended, waitressed, and that lifestyle is so tough. It is so tough. It's like family meal and, shift drink. You're having a drink after work, or maybe you're drinking during work, And even if you get like a salad with chicken, it's still like the chicken's got a ton of oil on it, and you're doing some sort of like heavy dressing, and you're having some fries on the side. And so, yeah, that lifestyle is really, really tough. And I can understand how your lifestyle completely changed and that weight came on, and then you shifted into this type A sort of obsessive perfectionist application towards it. So you started training, you started running, marathon runner, and you said that this kind of lasted for about 10 years into your late 20s. Is that correct?
Yeah, the obsessive running was probably 7-8 years. Yes. But the whole like health was affected for about 10 years. Yeah.
And during this time, that's when you moved to the States. Is that correct?
Yes. So I moved to the States. I think it was 2012. I think I told you before 2011, but I think it was 2012 actually. I moved here for that scholarship. I was here for 1 year, and then I had to go back. But during this time, it was actually really interesting because I became so much more relaxed, and I sort of like gave up these obsessive tendencies around running and the way I was eating, because I felt so much more free here. So I've always thought I'm super introverted. I always had this this kind of idea in my mind that nobody likes me. I don't know where it comes from, what it is, some kind of trauma maybe, but it was always like, people don't like me. I'm not good with people. I'm so not social. I'm introverted. But then when I came to California, it really changed because I don't know, somehow I found myself hanging out with people, talking to them, wanting to actually go out, and it totally switched everything. And I stopped being so obsessive with like running. I was like, well, if I can't make that morning run, well, I'm not gonna then. And if we stay up later, like Saturday night, we're having some wine, that's such a good time. I want to hang out with these people. Right. And this is where the pattern
Wow.
kind of started to break a little bit. And again, what happened, I went to the other extreme and I put on a lot of weight that year in the States. And so when I went back to Estonia to finalize my studies there, it was like, okay, now we got to get extreme again. So it's like CrossFit again, hardcore paleo diet again, lose all the weight, lose the periods again. You know, it was always like swinging, you know, one end of the spectrum to the other. That's how it always was until now. I would say like 3-4 years that I've been on this, what I really see as like a normal path, and I'm really happy not doing anything extreme.
Well, that's great that you're there now. For both of us, it's like our patterns of such unhealthy habits and thought processes is what got us to be able to be here, right? It's not like we just landed here by, you know, some miracle. It's like all of the challenges that we have been through and you have been through has given you that information, that knowledge, that fortitude to do things differently now. And that's really interesting when you came to the States and you started being more social and feeling like part of a community and connected. Again, you started distracting yourself from this obsessiveness with your body or how you look and gaining your confidence in other ways. Because when you first started sharing, you said, I really didn't feel confident with the extra weight, right? So maybe there was something about connecting with the community. It built that confidence up in you, and you felt like you could trust people and people liked you, and you felt connected, and that's maybe where that confidence came back from.
Yeah, it was a great time, and I always say that this was probably the best year of my life. You know, just meeting all these people and starting to see myself differently, like changing this inner dialogue that nobody likes me, I'm different, I can't speak the language properly, I have this and that mistake or thing wrong about me. I was like, well, I don't know, it's fun with people seem to like me back, so I think it's not that bad.
Yeah. So during this time where you were like obsessively running and then swung to sort of the other side, did you think that anything was quote unquote wrong? Did you think that what you were doing was healthy or balanced, or not balanced, but like, did you think that it was normal? Did you think that not having a period was normal? Did you think running for 3 hours fasted was normal? Or did you know it was dysfunctional, but because of the obsession, you were like, this is what I'm going to continue doing?
I don't think I saw it as a big problem. So it was, to me, it sounded like when somebody would make a comment like, oh my God, you're getting so thin, or oh my God, are you really not eating any of this at all? In my mind, it was like, they just don't know. And it was almost like, I'm not like better than, but I just know better than them. And like anything is better than being like overweight, or, you know, I'm willing to sacrifice whatever just so that I can keep that body that I have. Like they don't know, right? That was kind of my thought pattern.
Right.
And then when it comes to the periods, I had read, it's not normal to not have periods, but also our medical system didn't really help, which I don't these days trust anymore at all, to be honest with you. But already back then it was like, the doctors were like, well, let's test this and that and third and fourth thing. And I remember being in a study, even like doing like a bunch of tests, like staying in the hospital 2 days. They took my hormone levels and tested my pituitary gland to make sure there's no tumor or anything. And they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And not a single doctor told me that, hey, let's look at your exercise. Let's look at your food intake. Nobody ever paid any attention to that. And so it wasn't until really 2000 and what was it then? 16. I was already living in the States, and I went to an acupuncturist who was like, hey, you know, this is not normal. You should be getting your periods. There's some longer consequences if you don't get your period back. And I know how much you exercise. He knew me personally. He was like, I know your personality. You're pushing yourself. I really recommend that you back off a little bit and start eating more. And this experience was really great for me because I don't know if you've Have you ever gone acupuncture? You know what that's like?
Yes. I think twice I've done it. I'm open to it. I would like to do it more, but I haven't had the
Right.
opportunity.
So I think a good acupuncture is really great. And what I liked about it was like you're like so vulnerable there on a table. You have all these needles in you, and there's a person in front of you who tells you the truth that you actually know. And he's like telling you that stuff. And I started crying because at this moment it was like it kind of clicked, like, oh, damn it, I've been doing this for so many years now. I just have never wanted to look at it. And now there he is telling me the truth that like somewhere deep inside I knew, but I needed somebody to
Wow.
tell me that, and also sort of like give me the permission, I'm using air quotes here, to back off from so much
Yeah.
training and start eating a little bit more food and stop those like long morning fasts and things like that. So this was sort of like a wake up call. So I would say like deep inside, I kind of knew, but like I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to admit it until it became like, until somebody told me that.
I have the chills from hearing that experience. I think we've all had those aha moments, at least I know that I have, where you're just like, it's like bashing your head against the wall, doing the same thing over and over, maybe not getting results or feeling like shit and just ignoring it because you're like, this is what I'm supposed to do. So at that time, were you a trainer? Had you gotten your certification in 2016 to be training?
Yes. I did get my certification 2014. And I worked in Finland for a little while. So I worked there at the gym. And then when I came back to the States, 2015, I started working as a boot camp trainer. And then I started getting a couple of one-on-one clients here and there on the side. So yes, I had the certification back then, and it was fun. It was a great time to work as a trainer.
And when you first got into your own like certification as a trainer, were you like opened up to different types of training? Like, was that the first time you were introduced to like strength training and resistance training and group classes, or was it really like, I mean, I know you came from a background of like a group, well, like track and field isn't really group, it can be, but team sports or athletic competition. But was that your introduction to strength training?
Yeah, in the honestly, so when I did track and field, at least my coach's approach wasn't very strength focused, which I appreciate, because when I did it 16, 17 years old, I don't think like young girls like that should lift a ton of weight yet. They can, but I like looking back, I like that we weren't like forced to do a lot of that, because I know there's like a lot of coaches who put very, very heavy barbells on their students' backs and like mess them up early on. So I'm glad this never happened. But I would say when I got the certifications, I still had this background more of like running, like long distance running, and like more like high intensity, that type of stuff. So the certifications, yes, they talked about strength training more, but honestly, what made bigger impact on me than any certification was that I did CrossFit for a little while. And even though I don't agree with all the things that CrossFit is doing anymore, it was, to me, this was the introduction to like real strength training, like learning how to squat, learning how to do pull-ups, learning how to deadlift. So for me, this was the real intro. It wasn't really the certification. The certification, to be honest, it was just like, okay, to get that piece of paper that now I'm allowed to train people. That's how it was.
And so before you talked about fasting, and I'd like to just touch on this a little bit because I know it's something that a lot of women go to as a tool for fat loss. Can you share a little bit about your thoughts and recommendations on fasting for women and how you like to use fasting in clients' protocols? Obviously, I know it's individualized and you're not going to say, yeah, everyone just do a 14, 16 or whatever it is, or, 12, 12. But in terms of if someone's thinking about getting into fasting, what do you kind of look for in your clients and who do you recommend it for?
To be honest with you, I don't recommend fasting, like intermittent fasting at all. For women, no. I would say that a normal overnight fast, which is typically 10 to 12 hours, is all you need. And I see a lot of women who come from this like 16 plus hour fast plus occasional 24-hour fast. They have a lot of issues. They have a lot of issues with their cortisol. Their adrenal glands are really pushed to work so hard to pump out all these stress hormones. their liver is not doing so great. It's just their thyroids are eventually going to suffer. So this is what I see a lot. And what is really, really, really consistent with those women who come to me, and I've had a lot of them, fasted 16 hours and we start eating normal breakfast, 10 to 12 hours after dinner, then they get so much better results at the gym. They have the energy to get through the workouts. They feel like they're not like fatigued. They recover much better. And as a result, they put on more muscle, which is their goal. Because everybody wants, lose body fat. They want more definition. If you want this stuff, you got to have muscle. And if you're starving yourself and then extending those fasts so long, it's not good for you. It's not helpful. Now, okay, there might be some situations where it might be appropriate. And I've noticed that it works so much better for men than women. And also when you look at men, they just naturally go longer between meals. At least I see it in my home. Like my husband, he's sometimes like, oh, it's 4 o'clock. I forgot to eat. I'm like, how do you forget to eat? I've had like 3 meals already by then.
I know.
Right. So men generally can deal with this better, and that's okay. But for women, especially women who are still getting the periods, our fertile age, I can't recommend 16-hour plus fasts. And when I did it, again, it was just dumb. I just wanted to lose weight, but I didn't realize that it all comes down to calorie deficit, right? And then, you can create it with fasting, but you can also create a host of health issues with that. Why don't you just eat more evenly throughout the day, then still be in a calorie deficit and you still lose weight? You don't have to like do this long period of starvation in order to achieve that.
Right. And I'm in the same class as you, in the sense that I don't think anything more than a 12-12 is necessary, right? Especially with the type of clients that we're working with. We want them in the weight room, strength training. We want them eating consistent meals. We want cravings and hunger stabilized. We want them to have full lives and be healthy, right? And not have fat loss and weight loss at the expense of their health, right? We don't want that. I have heard studies about fasting being beneficial for any health issues, or if you want to give your digestive system a break. I have not done enough research on that, and I have not tried it. Like, I remember trying to fast for like 12 hours or even rather 14 hours when I first started like in fitness. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll try fasting. It was so hard for me because I wanted my coffee in the morning, right? And then I was going to go train and I was hungry. But yeah, to your point, it's like fasting is just what a lot of people use it for is for that calorie deficit, right? We can create a calorie deficit many other ways without feeling like tortured all day because we're trying to eat within this 8-hour period and we're hungry before it. And then we feel guilty that we ate before it. And then it's like a whole other set of like mental issues too that comes with it.
It's so trendy, but it's just because everybody else is doing it. Don't do it just because of that. And also I want to say, like, most women, they do have muscle building goal, even though they may not know this. They think that, I just want to, look smaller, whatever. But if you want to, you get it by building muscle, right? But then your liver can store about 8 hours worth of glucose in your liver, right? So if you don't feed your body, then you go do your workout. Where is the building material? You're already depleted. How are you going to build? You need some materials. So that's why you have to have the glycogen in there and ready to be, available and to be usable. So that's why the fasting for muscle building is not ideal.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. So tell us about the time period where you said that you went from restrictive dieting and fasting and overtraining, and then you swung to the other side and you gained a bunch of weight and you were kind of just overdoing it. What was that experience like on the other side for you, and what brought that on?
Well, there's been a couple of those fluctuations, right, in my life. Like I said,
Same.
first, working at a restaurant, gaining a bunch of weight, then losing all of it, plus more with hardcore running and then Weight Watchers, and then gaining when I came to the stage and found the fun social life and the late night pizza and all that. And then going back to my home country and losing it because I felt ashamed, right? I lost a lot of it. And then, coming back, it was like so many times of that. And then there's also, I remember, a juice cleanse somewhere in between where I did a juice and smoothie thing that was supposed to be 21 days, but I actually felt pretty good on it towards the end. I mean, there's one solid meal a day too. So it wasn't like purely juice. Yeah. But I felt pretty good. I was like, I'm going to extend it, right? I extended it to 4 weeks. I lost so much weight. I'm looking back at those pictures. I'm like, oh my goodness, I lost quickly. And I think I may have even seen a little bit of abs for a little while, which is always impossible for me. I just naturally carry more body fat in my midsection. I just don't have abs ever. But that was the time.
Same
Yeah,
here.
that was the time when I saw a little bit. But then when I look at all these like occasions where I lost and gained, the reason why I always ended up gaining, I think, is that when I lost, it was just so restrictive, and your body and mind eventually just cannot handle it. And that's why like the longest stretch of my under eating, which is like I mentioned between like 21 to 27 years old, I had frequent binge eating episodes. So they were all the time, let's say every month I had one, and it was severe. It wasn't like, some people call I binged because I ate 5 cookies. I'm like, 5 cookies is nothing, right? Like a real binge looks like a burger and fries and like a 300-gram chocolate bar and whatever the crap you can get into your body. This is a real severe binge eating. And so I've been through that too. So there's so much of these ups and downs. And I think those weight gains were a result of restricting severely, whether it was the juice cleanse. Well, I should probably also tell the funny story how I got out of that, how I ended that juice cleanse, which is ridiculous and you should never do this.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was so deprived, right? I really wanted the stuff that I normally ate. And like the next day after I decided to kind of stop that juice cleanse, we went out with friends and we went out partying, and I ate burritos and drank like rum and Coca-Cola. And I was literally like that night, I was trying to get home and my stomach was in so much pain. I remember like trying to get home and walking around Berkeley and just like occasionally squatting down, trying to avoid my stomach cramps or like feel better. And the next day it was like,
yeah.
I feel horrible. I'm going to have to go running. It's like so severe. There's been so much crap. And now it's so, such a good feeling to not do any of that. Like I said, the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe it's been just moderation all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't ever see myself going back to
Yeah.
any of this restrictive or any of this overeating stuff anymore.
Yeah. I want to talk about that transition into the moderation a bit. But before we do, where did you get your pizza and your ramen noodles in Berkeley?
Where did I get my pizza? There's this place. I'm not a big pizza.
Blondie's?
What's that? Zachary's?
Yes, Zachary's.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not a big pizza fan.
And then Dollar Noodle?
I've never been a big like noodles person. So yeah, it was that. What else today? It was like a crazy. Well, okay. One of the places I went all the time was the Yogurt Land.
Yeah, Yogurt Park.
Oh my God, so good. Especially the toppings.
I love that place. Oh
toppings
my God, it's
is
so
like
good.
the life of the frozen yogurt.
Yeah, because they put it inside and they put them on top. They know what to do. They
just
know
eat the toppings by the spoonful.
So funny. So what was your aha moment? Like, obviously there was probably a culmination of things that kind of happened. And you talked about, hormonal issues and burnout. How did you know that your hormones, besides your period not being around, how did you know that your hormones weren't aligned? Was it really just about the period? Were there mood swings, digestive issues? Like, what was the indicator to you?
Yes, I would say the missing periods was the biggest one for sure. It's just so clear. You cannot not see that one, right? Because it's literally not there. But I'm lucky that I didn't get like a bunch of like digestive issues or like food intolerances or problems with like nails and hair. I know a lot of people have them. So for me, it was the period, and it's just like kind of like feeling weak, kind of like not wanting things. And when I knew that, okay, something's really wrong is when I started losing my workout motivation. And that was right before that acupuncture appointment, when I had started like feeling that, okay, the last couple of months, I just don't want to kind of work out because I didn't have the energy. I felt so low. And this was new to me because, like I said, like since I was 9 years old, I've been very active and I've always genuinely enjoyed. So I'm not the person you have to like go to the gym. To me, it's the opposite. Like I can't stay away from it. It's more like that type of thing. But yeah, that was one of the things, like, why do I need like external motivation? Why do I have to sign up for a group class to keep going with my fitness? And I just started noticing that it's like some people, when they can't get going, they're like, I need more coffee. For me, it was like, I need somebody to like set up a group class for me. So I have to go there, show up. I had never needed anything like this. So just like lack of motivation started to creep in, missing periods, and just like feeling kind of weak in my body and in my fitness. not getting better, just kind of going through motions of like having like felt like I had to move myself, but there's like no real spark or desire to do it anymore. So these were kind of like the main things. But and of course, very cold all the time. That was one of the things, which is a clear sign of your thyroid not functioning properly. So hands and feet, nose, always cold, no matter what the temperature was. And now it's totally opposite. I'm really warm all the time. And it's funny, usually like in most houses, like it's always the men who are always really warm and want the AC on and cool it off. In our house, it's the opposite. I'm like, I'm so hot. Like, can you cool it down?
Oh,
a
wow.
bit?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's totally changed. Like a lot of things have changed a lot.
So your aha moment on the table with the acupuncture, what was your first step into more balance? Did you start with nutrition? Did you start with exercise? Did you start with your mindset? What was sort of your progression over these last 5 years, and how did it get you to where you are now?
Yeah. So honestly, to me, it felt like a permission that I can slow down. And the first thing, I really backed off of exercise. And I don't know that it was like physically absolutely necessary, but mentally it was. Because like I said, I had been forcing myself to do it. I didn't like it anymore. So now I was like, okay, you're going to go on walks. So that's literally what I did for months. I walked and I took 2 yoga classes per week. So that's like from somebody who used to do crazy HIIT training, so much cardio, like exhausted all the time. I used to do so much HIIT training. It was ridiculous. And I tried to get my husband to do it with me. And he's like, you're out of your mind. I don't want to work out with you. I was like, why? This is so much fun. So now I was like, okay, face it, Kersten, you don't enjoy it. You actually need rest. So I started walking a lot. And I remember our first vacation after I kind of started this newer lifestyle. We went to Hawaii, where my husband's from. And every time, like previously, when we had been in Hawaii, it was always like up first thing in the morning, go outside, do a HIIT workout, run a ton before anybody else is up, and then eat and do the rest of the day, go kayaking, to whatever, right? Active stuff all day. So now I was like, I'm going to go for a walk. And he was like, huh, right? And it was enjoyable. It was great. I liked it. The food, yeah, I started being a little more relaxed with it, but it wasn't maybe until like 2-3 months in when I started being like really relaxed with it. And again, common pattern already, went overboard and, put on a lot of weight, which I needed, but I put on more than I needed. And there I was again. My periods came back, all was fun. My mood was better. My hormones were much better. But then again, I was like on this other end where now I had put on much more weight than I actually needed. So yeah, that pattern repeated itself again. But this time, at least I had done it for my health purposes. And a lot of things got better. So I don't regret that period of time at all. It was great.
Wow. So here you are. You've got some extra weight on your body, which is fine. You're walking a lot.
Yeah.
So where did you go from there? I know that now you strength train a couple times a week. You hike. What prompted you to, I know you're also a macro coach now. So tell us how your progression in your own personal journey has also kind of paralleled you as like what you coach now.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is probably like my favorite part of my whole journey, because I feel like this is finally like I can breathe. It's finally feels like balanced, and I feel like I can maintain this. It's so effortless right now. So after this weight gain that I just described, like I said, I put on some weight and I started feeling again uncomfortable, but this time I was like, I want to feel better. I want to lose some body fat, but there's no way I'm going to do these old things again. I don't want to screw up my health anymore. I don't want to starve myself. I don't want to rely on cardio so much. So is there another solution? And one of my good friends back at the time was a macro coach, and she was always telling me like, hey, I found these snacks at Trader Joe's and they're really good, real high protein. I'm like, oh, whatever, because it sounded like I don't ever want to go back to thinking about any of this. But then I got more curious, because I remember specifically there's one moment I was going to the store and I wanted to buy a dress for a friend's wedding. And I was like, what? I have to buy size 14 now. And I had been comfortable, 8 or 10 typically. Typically 8 is what I, wear now and have worn for years now again. But then like going up to 14, I was like, wow, that's kind of like a lot. And I want to do something about it. So I was like, okay, Jenny, tell me about this macro thing. What is this? And I had this fear that it's going to be something really, really restrictive. And she said, well, let's try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You don't have to like marry this thing, right? And so she gave me some numbers to kind of track, and I started using MyFitnessPal. And I didn't know much about macronutrients before at all, right? And then I started using it, and I started hitting the protein target that she gave me. And even just from that, from protein and keeping my calories a little bit lower, I started seeing change very quickly. And I want to say also the reason why I started seeing the change really quickly is that for the past like 3 years, I had been eating very freely. So I had a lot of room. So I didn't even have to do a massive deficit or anything like that to start getting results. So I kept the protein high. I did a little bit of a calorie cut, and I started following her programs, which were so much more strength focused. And I started feeling like, wait a minute, I can do this. I can visibly see the change in the mirror. I can still go to my favorite Thai restaurant once a week if I want to, twice a week if I want to. I don't have to run. I don't have to do freaking hits anymore. I hate it. And this was like, maybe this is doable. And so after a little while, I started playing around with other macros, starting using, carbs and fats and looking at those a little bit more. And I didn't obsess if I like went over a little bit. So I had kind of like totally said goodbye to this like old like perfectionist mindset that you have to be, to a T, follow everything, because I had seen that it had gotten me to a really bad place previously. So I gave myself a little bit of flexibility. I went into this project, I call it, with a mindset of like, well, let's see where it's going to take me. I don't have a goal like I have to lose 30 pounds by tomorrow. Nothing like that. I didn't even have scale. And I just started seeing this like subtle but important change. I started feeling better. And to me, what is one of the most important thing is that I started to feel like an athlete again that I had been and now I had kind of like lost during this process of weight gain. And at first it was very humbling to realize that I cannot even do like proper push-ups anymore when I had all this weight on me. But now I started training and they started coming back, and I just stayed really consistent and felt good. And my periods stayed. Nothing bad happened to them. I learned how to actually feel my body. I learned that, okay, I probably shouldn't have royo for dinner instead of dinner. Things like that. Pay attention to, eating more protein. And this is how it kind of started for me. And then because I saw how well it worked and how doable it was, then I decided that I want to learn how to do this. And I signed up for Eve. You know Eve as well, right? So for Eve's
Yes.
macro program, and became a certified coach. And this is what I've been doing now for several years.
Yay. I love that. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. It feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels good, right?
I
To
know.
just find like a place where you don't have to obsess about anything. And like for me, I don't know if this happened for you. There's also an element of like body acceptance where like I don't actually have the body that I always wanted. Like when I was like restricting and binging, like I don't have the abs. I'm not super muscular. I'm not super lean. I still feel strong in the gym, but there's also this element of like, there's so much confidence and control in a good way around my life that like that matters more to me almost than like how I actually look. Like as long as I'm exercising, I'm eating well most of the time, like maybe I don't have the abs, maybe I have a little extra fat around my belly, but I don't know, it's turned into self-acceptance and balance in all areas. I don't know if that's happened to you at all.
Yes, very much so. I don't need to be the leanest person in the room at all. I'm okay that I have like cellulite and I have rolls and I have like stuff. It's normal. And I know that I could get leaner, but then again, like I really like chocolate too and I don't want to give it up. So if you lift weights consistently, then also you're not going to just gain a bunch of weight randomly either. So you keep that muscle in your body. That's going to take care of so many other things. And just the body acceptance is huge. Like exactly. Like I think 10 years ago would have been like, like you definitely got to lose some of that belly fat. But now I'm like, no, I feel strong. I feel good. Everything has a trade-off. If I want to lose belly fat, I have to give up some of the things in my life that I don't want to right now. Maybe in the future I do, then I change it. But right now, the food freedom and body acceptance piece, it's huge.
Yeah, and I think this was the same. This was for me. Like I didn't realize the sacrifice that it was going to take to get that lean when I was really vying for it. I didn't realize it was like no alcohol. Your sleep had to be perfect. Like
Yeah.
you had to eat like high protein all the time. You had to limit your treats. It really was like treat day or treat meal
Oh
once a
God.
week, right? Like that's really what it would take to get super lean. And it just was not aligned with my lifestyle and what I wanted. So you've shared a lot about yourself, but now I want to hear about how you help your clients and how you work with women and how you help women, because everything that you've been through has led you to this place, right? Being a macro coach and helping women balance their hormones and get strong. So tell us a little bit about your coaching business and how you like to help women and who you mostly work with and how you do it.
So I work with mostly women. I've had a couple of guys too, but I mostly work with women, and they tend to be around between 40 and 60 years old, most of them. And what I really like is that I seem to attract women who want to get strong and want to build muscle. To be honest, I see less and less, maybe because of the message that I'm putting out there. I see less and less like, I want to lose weight. And I want to say there's nothing wrong in wanting to lose weight. If you actually have like a lot of body fat and you want to do that, cool, yes. But what I like so much more is like, I want to get strong because people are starting to understand that when I build muscle, I get stronger. That speeds up my metabolism. That actually helps me to lose body fat. So it's more like geared towards body composition change and also doing it in a healthy way. So health, for obvious reasons, what I've talked about a lot today, is very important for me. I don't want anybody to screw themselves up with like crazy diets, too long intermittent fasting, keto, all that stuff that I am against. So health is a big thing. I work with one-on-one. I have done group coaching before, but I feel like if I want to give a person my full attention, it has to be one-on-one. Then we talk weekly or bi-weekly, depends on the person how much support they need. And yes, I do work with macros. I have only a few clients who don't track macros and they just do it differently, or they do just the workouts. But yes, I do use macros. But again, there's levels there too. Some people are only tracking protein. Some people are tracking all three. But yeah, this is basically how it works. And then workouts, which I feel like is workout programming is what so many women are unfortunately getting wrong. And this is what I see as my forte. I have developed it over the years. Let's say 7-8 years ago, I didn't know much at all like about proper programming. Like the stuff that I threw together in my group fitness class was just random crap. To be honest, it was fun and entertaining, but workouts are not supposed to be entertaining. They're supposed to give results. So now I know that this is really my really strong skill to put together really good workouts. And I see pretty much without exceptions that how much stronger women are getting. It's fantastic to see. I love getting messages like,
Yeah.
I didn't know I could lift 200 pounds and I could. So this brings me a lot of joy.
Yes. Love that. Yeah. There's no better gift than building strength inside out for women.
Mm-hmm.
Like when women start lifting weights heavier than like 5-10 pounds, 15s, and they see that their body is changing and, in a way that they like and want, the quote unquote bulky look.
Yeah.
And they feel stronger inside mentally too. Their fortitude, their resilience, they feel just more capable.
Yeah.
And it's so inspiring. I love it too.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is great. That's and sometimes they also just need somebody to tell them that they can, because a lot of women, and probably including myself, don't always have that like self trust and confidence to do things. And so it's really good to be that person who tells them that you can. Yeah, you can do this. You're capable of this. I just had this thing recently where I asked one of my clients, okay, so where's our deadlift at right now? And she's like, it's 175 pounds. Great. I love it. Beautiful. But I told her, I know you are probably able to lift 200 pounds right now. And she's like, can I? Do you think I am able to? I'm like, yes, I do. And next thing, it was literally 2 days later, I think, she sends me a message. She said, I just pulled 205 pounds off the floor.
Yes.
So all she needed was this encouragement. And it feels really cool to be able to give that to people, and also give like different kinds of permissions. For example, yeah, you can eat that cookie. Yeah, you can. Who said you can't? Because I think we have, like you said too, you had days like, oh, this is a treat day. Now I can have it, but it cannot be, it can happen on any other day. But why is that, right? So now if somebody's like, oh, I didn't know that I can eat chocolate daily, I'm over here like, yeah, you can. Like, why can't you? Like, as long as it fits the, the numbers that we talked about, of course you can have. It's not like you're going to like binge on that stuff. But what's wrong with having a little bit of treats every now and then? It's probably going to keep you on a healthy path. So that's another type of like permission that I sometimes have to give my ladies.
That's great. So tell us about your certifications. I know you're certified in cold plunge as well, functional breathing coach. Tell us a little bit about your certifications.
Yeah.
And how you integrate them into your programming, if at all.
Yeah. So I don't really integrate them into my program. I may give like recommendations sometimes if I think that they would be valuable for the person that I'm working with. But cold plunge, yes, it's definitely something that I love. I started taking like cold showers, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, maybe at this point. But also, coming back to where I'm from Estonia, like long winters, we do that anyway, right? You can jump in the lake, especially in Finland, where I lived in many years too. That's what you do. You get like really hot in the sauna, and then you go jump in snow or lake, and people have done it for hundreds of years. But here now, I live in Arizona, no winter here really. So there's an amazing place here called Morosco Forge, and they have ice baths. They make these ice baths in their facility over here, and then you can also use their facility. So this is where I do my own cold plunges and then see some of my local clients. I found that cold plunges for me, was wonderful for my mental health. The main benefit, of course, people talk about fat burning and metabolism boosting and all that. Yes, great, maybe. Yeah, I know it does work. But for me, it was like the mental health benefit. So now when I talk to somebody who's like, my mood is always kind of low and I feel really bad and sluggish and things like that, then I may recommend, hey, go take a cold shower, try it out. And some people get really hooked and they love it. They love the after feeling.
Yeah.
Nobody likes being in that cold, but they love the after feeling.
Yeah, totally.
And I know it's been kind of like a trendy thing when you look around on social media. It's like cold plunging, and some people say, oh, that's another trend. But I would say some people do stuff because it really works for them, not just because it's a trend, right? So for example, like I mentioned, the people in Estonia, Finland, I think parts of Russia have done the cold snow, cold water thing for hundreds of years. And they didn't do it for Instagram, believe me. So there's actually like real benefits to it. Such, similar things with like beef liver. Oh, everybody's just eating beef liver because it's so trendy. No, there's benefits to it. And again, certain parts of the world, you eat the entire animal, right? I've eaten beef liver since I was really little. So I don't know, not everything is trendy. There's actually some health benefits to stuff.
Yeah, and I've noticed in your social media and just following you that you do practice some of these, I don't want to call them fringe habits, but like, yeah, more of these hacks, right? These like maybe health hacks that have been around for ages and have been part of your culture, right?
Yeah.
And they've been part of how you were raised, and you bring them into your lifestyle now and you share them. So you definitely, I know you do cold plunging, you just shared that. You do eat liver and organ meats as well. What are some of the benefits for ingesting liver and organ meats, and where do you find yours? Do you prefer organic? Do you prefer buying them from a specific online source, or what's your strategy for sourcing that?
Yeah, I just go to my local butcher shop here where I got it from. I don't know, but I think it's worthwhile to just look around and see if you have like a butcher shop, if you want to give it a try. I think chicken liver is a little bit easier for a lot of people to get used to. It's not quite as strong, the flavor, because the thing that turns people off is it's just so different taste. It's like nothing you've ever tasted before. And it's a lot harder to get started with it if you've never eaten it as a little kid. So my husband is like, no, I can have a little piece, but I'm not going to eat like a whole chunk that I can eat. But because I grew up with it, we literally had like beef liver gravy in school, like for school lunch. That's how we ate. So, but the benefits, honestly, beef liver is like one of the most nutrient dense foods on the planet. Red meat too, but organ meats have more of like amazing minerals that we need, and a lot of people are low in. It's not the kale that's the superfood. It really is the beef liver. So copper and iron and zinc and protein, of course, talking about macronutrients. It's really, really wonderful. And A lot of people actually may experience like when they start with liver that they feel really energized suddenly. It can almost have like a caffeine like effect. And that probably says that the person has been very deficient in some of those minerals and they should just be taking it a little easier when they start eating it and maybe not eat it towards the end of the day because they want to go to sleep.
Interesting.
Yeah. But for somebody who's been having it, forever, it doesn't have the same effect. I can even eat it for dinner and not have problems. But you may notice better energy. You may notice better like recovery, just like vibrancy overall, because it's really like packed with minerals and nutrients.
Wow. I'm really interested to try some. I grew up in Italy and we would eat things like goat brain and cow tongue and horse meat, and these are all raised sustainably on farms and true farm to table stuff.
Yeah.
And so we grew up eating organ meat as well.
Yep.
And so I've been watching your stories. I'm like, I kind of want to try it again, even if it's like once a week, just to get some of those nutrients in. But yeah, I can taste it now. Like I can taste some of those like more mealy, like very beefy, meaty type of flavors with like lots of blood, blood source in them, what that tastes like. And it's definitely an acquired taste and takes a little bit of time. My boyfriend's a huge red meat eater. He eats red meat all the time. He believes in like the benefits of it as well. So I'm like, let's get liver, let's get some organs. Like, let's try it. He's like, I don't know if I could do that.
You can start with like meatloaf, like make meatloaf or beef patties and put a little bit of liver in there just to kind of like hide the taste of it.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can try that.
Right. I actually do have some chopped red meat, so we'll see. Some other things I wanted to ask you about that you've done recently. Well, you've been involved in salsa dancing for the last couple of years.
Oh, not years. Half a year.
Half a year. Oh, okay. How have you enjoyed that aspect of like moving and community?
Oh, it's been so much fun. So much more fun than I ever anticipated. Because dancing is something, like I mentioned before, I've always loved fitness and doing like running, lifting, hitting, all that. But with dance, I had always thought I'm so clumsy. I just cannot get any of the choreography part. The few kind of step aerobics classes, whatever I tried back in the day were a mess. I never got any of it right. And but then now I've been dancing salsa, and it got started in December last year, 2022. And I mean, I think a lot of it depends on the teachers too. And my teachers have been absolutely fantastic. And it's been just so much fun. I've loved learning. Now I'm actually kind of crossing over to the intermediate level, and it's suddenly got so much harder. And I find myself like frustrated in the class, but then I'm like, well, how do you expect to make progress? Like you think you're a pro since day one, you're not.
Yeah.
So have a little better attitude here.
Little reality check.
Yeah, reality check, right? This is not like, it's not the dumbbell curl that you know how to do. It's a different thing. And my teacher always likes to say that dance is second nature. It's not anybody's like first thing that they were born with. So you have to learn this. And I've been really enjoying it. What I really like about dancing too is that I feel like it's like a little bit more like you can express more like your feminine side, because I'm always like living in, shorts and sweats and tank tops, hair is messy, that type of stuff. But when you go to class, you like put little earrings on, maybe do your hair a little bit because you feel like more feminine, right? And you dance, you learn. It's great. It's been such a fun experience and so much better than I thought it would be. And it's also helpful, for the brain. So you make your brain work a little differently, because learning all these steps, it's hard.
Yeah. It's a different way to challenge yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's super cool. Yeah. I've enjoyed watching your journey. Another journey that I've been following is your root canal removal journey. And this is near and dear to my heart because I had 3 root canals and 3 crowns last year. And it has not been a smooth ride. And ever since you and another friend of mine has shared about the cons to having root canals, I've done a little bit of research, but also I haven't gone down the wormhole because I'm not getting my teeth removed right now. I am just not in that place to get my teeth removed. How's that experience been for you, and why did you do it?
Yeah. So I gotta be
If you want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it.
I mean, I can. When I first shared it on my social media, I kind of just like mentioned it that I'm going to get mine removed. I got some hate from people who were like, this is a bad thing. You should never do this. You're out of your mind. This is bad. I got to say that I'm not. Where do I even start? I've read a lot about the downsides of having root canals, and I had 5 of them. And, you expose your body to a lot of bacteria by getting the root canals, because now you will have more like higher chance of like infection, because now it's like exposed, and everything that gets into your body via food, you bring more bacteria into your tissues and your body and your circulation. And so a lot of studies have shown that. And I don't want to tell you, I don't want to scare you, because I know what you did and you just got your root canals. But, there's been more studies showing that women have higher risks of breast cancer, like chronic pain issues, right? Headaches. My dentist told me a lot about like how somebody, patients have gotten theirs removed and they're like the chronic brain fatigue just cleared up. So having them can be pretty inflammatory in the body. And it was my choice to do it. And it was not an easy ride at all. I had to get them all removed. They're really difficult to remove. My dentist was like, holy crap, I've never seen this kind of root before. Where'd you get that one from? So the surgeries were pretty traumatic, I gotta say. And now I have to wear like partial dentures. Pretty young age. I'm not that old yet, but that's how it is. And this is just a decision that I made, and absolutely not prescribing anybody, that this is what you have to do. If you want advice, ask me about macros and training, but don't ask about to like make that decision for yourself.
Yeah. And this is just to bring light to a conversation. And for anyone that is listening and wants more information, do your own research. But I did want to ask Kersten, because she did share a little bit on her journey, and it's been so recent for me with my root canals, and then another friend told me about it the same week, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know like what to do. But yeah, I have a lot of dental issues, and I've thought about the same thing, like maybe I need to get dentures at some point in the back of my mouth, or implants. But again, that's another thing being embedded in your mouth that's probably can cause infections.
Well, dentures not so much, because
I meant implants.
Right. Yeah.
Implants.
That's a different thing. Yeah, that's why I didn't get it. That's why I got the dentures.
Yeah.
But they're not comfortable. So you have to kind of make a choice, like what you want to do. Because honestly, like when I started wearing them, and I don't currently right now, but when I started wearing them, it was a lot of struggle. You have to learn how to eat. You have to learn how to speak with them. You're going to just butcher a lot of words. You have much more saliva in your mouth. It's uncomfortable. It's going to take several weeks to get used to them, and you may have to go and adjust them. So that's not easy either. But you have to just make a choice. And I chose that, like the longer term, because I think I can get used to dentures, but I don't want to take like a potential risk of like in the future developing because of like this infection in my body from the root canals. So.
Yeah. I have a vivid picture of my grandparents sitting at the dinner table. My grandparents were immigrants from Italy, and I think they had health insurance, but they didn't have dental insurance. But my grandparents did not have any of their teeth. It was full on dentures. Maybe they had like a couple teeth, but I just have this vivid memory of my grandparents sitting at the dinner table and this dentist coming to our house and essentially, adjusting their dentures at the kitchen table. And like that is just like a sneak peek of like how bad our dental hygiene has been in my family for generations. Yeah, we just don't have good teeth in our family. It's just a thing.
Same. And it's hard because I'm in my late-ish 30s. Are you mid-30s somewhere there, right?
I'm 38.
Oh, we're same age then. Yeah. Oh, it's so cool that we can say how old you're. I feel like everybody's like, don't tell anybody how old you are. I'm like, so what? I'm 38.
I love it.
What's the big deal?
I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of like, we are not even 40 yet, and we have all these dental issues. And again, same thing in my family too. My mom, my sister, everybody got those dentures really early on. And it can be like, why am I getting this? Like, am I not too young for that? But it is what it is, then there's other ways. We're doing our best. I don't know, just some things you have to learn to be with. I mean, I cannot naturally fix my teeth or make my teeth any different. Right. So
totally. I love that perspective. Well, let's finish the podcast off. I like to always ask what your favorite crave foods are and like what's your go-to yum yums. I know you like to have a little chocolate at the end of the night.
Yeah.
But if there's anything else, or like rather, I know you like to have chocolate. I don't know if it's at the end of the night or what time it is, but like if you could have like one food for the rest of your life that's like your ultimate craving, like what would it be?
Craving food. Can I pick one sweet and one savory?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
So
Yeah.
sweet, I'm not interesting, or I'm not like different at all. It is chocolate for sure.
Yes.
It's gotta be chocolate.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Dark, milk, white chocolate. Tell us some details.
Milk, and if there's any
Yeah.
hazelnuts in there, that would be best.
Yes.
Those chocolate hazelnuts. Trader Joe's
Yeah.
Pound Plus chocolate is so good.
Yes, so good.
Yeah.
So good.
And for like actual like meal type of thing, gotta be one of my favorite things, or maybe the favorite thing is the brisket, like really good brisket. I love it.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
I like
I love
fatty
that you
red
just
meat.
came out of left field with that. I love that.
Yeah.
My boyfriend's brother owns a barbecue business, and so we have this smoker in our backyard, and brother comes by and cooks weekly for these cooks. And so last year when I started dating him, I just started eating all this red meat, like a lot more, like brisket and rib tips and
Awesome.
everything. And so I'm like, I'm a red meat eater now. Here we go.
Good. Probably great for your health. I'm a big believer in it.
When you eat your red meat, do you prefer like organic or like free range, or are you kind of just like not really stressing about that?
Yeah, I do what I can. So typically, yes, it is organic, and I use Butcher Box a lot, right? So they bring like organic food, organic meats, and they deliver to your home. But also lately, I found like a butcher shop that's local. So now I've been using their stuff, and they have some really amazing deals. And I think a lot of butcher shops have that, like where you can buy like a bunch of meat for like a little bit of a discounted rate. So if you can get something like that. But then there are also times when I just buy stuff from Costco. It depends also,
Yeah.
how much stuff costs. I try to do organic when it comes to meat, but it's not always possible. So.
Well, thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah, sure.
To finish the podcast, let us know where people can find you, how they can connect with you, and anything, if you have any free programs or free downloads or anything that people can join you on.
So I am on Facebook a lot. I have a group called Fit and Fueled. So this is where I hang out a lot. And yes, I am on Instagram too, but like the Fit and Fueled group is like this is my community there. So it's more intimate, it's smaller. And then Instagram. And I also have my podcast, which is on YouTube and also on most podcast apps. It's called Balanced Vibes. So you can find that as well. So yeah, I'm doing fun stuff there. Like a 3-week challenge is coming up, and I'm preparing for it and all excited already. So
I know. I saw you're giving away like $500 or something.
I am. I'm giving away.
That's amazing.
I know.
Should I join the challenge?
You can join the challenge. I have also fun, like other mini prizes too. But yeah, this is the grand prize.
That's super cool. Well, either way, go check out Kersten's Facebook group, Fit and Fueled. Fat loss and strength building group for women. You connect with her over there. She's also on Instagram and her podcast. Well, thanks so much for being on, Kersten. Anything that you want to leave our listeners with, or anything you want to share?
Yeah, maybe the fact that, I just want to encourage women to eat more and eat better, because I feel like so many women are just stuck in this forever dieting. And if you change that mindset from like, I'm not going to like always try to get smaller, I'm just going to build a lot of strength and see how that impacts my body, that's going to put you on a much better path. So I want to encourage women to pick up some heavy weights. Don't always starve yourself all the time, and you're going to feel amazing.
Hell yeah. Lift the weights.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being on, and I will see you soon.